I am, how you would say, a Devil May Cry fan. I am, how you would say, a big Devil May Cry fan. I even picked up the reboot, which actually isn't half bad. I like it more than Devil May Cry 2, but not more than 1, 3, and 4, and 5. And the next one we're going to show off, Bayonetta. Bayonetta is basically a Devil May Cry game. It was made by Devil May Cry 1's director, whose name I can't recall for the moment, but he also made the Okami. Well, not made, he directed the Okami game. This dude has been in action games for a long time. I believe he began in the Resident Evil franchise. Hideki Kamiya, Hideki, that is his name. I can never remember people's names all the time, but that's his name. He directed the very first Devil May Cry game. Here, this one right there, he came up with the idea in the hack and slashy story, and then he went bye-bye. He went somewhere else, and this is where he eventually ended up making Bayonetta, which is basically Devil May Cry, but not. Devil May Cry, but. Devil May Cry, but not exactly. Devil May Cry, but I'm going to avoid copyright on this one. It's basically Devil May Cry. It's Devil May Cry. Almost everything about it is Devil May Cry. It's so similar to Devil May Cry that it really should have gotten a lawsuit, but by Capcom. But then maybe they respected the creator of the original Devil May Cry enough to let him do this with Bayonetta. So who knows? Bayonetta, the series, is a very fun one. I only have the first one because they only ever made the first one for the PlayStation consoles, because after Bayonetta 1, Nintendo grabbed its grubby mitts on Bayonetta and Hideki Kamiya and said, hey, you know, we normally never make M-rated games, so we're going to kidnap you so you can make your M-rated games on our consoles instead, so that we can attract more edgy adults to play our children's games, and your Bayonetta 2 as well. But hey, you at least get money to fund your new games. Don't you like that, Mr. Kamiya? So he joined Nintendo and has been held hostage for the past decade at Nintendo, creating Bayonetta 2 and 3, and eventually there's probably going to be a Bayonetta 4. I probably will be looking at Bayonetta 2 and 3, not playing it because I don't own Nintendo consoles, but I'm going to be taking a look at them through the World Wide Web. There's everything that you could ever want is on here, so I'm gonna go find them, and I'm gonna go watch them, see the story, and learn the story, and find out what happens after Bayonetta 1. Because honestly, after playing Bayonetta 1, I fell in love with this IP. I did. I fell in love with the character. I fell in love with the story, the world, the aspects, all of it. The side characters are very fun. One of these guys sounds just like Joe Pesci. I think his name's Etsuo or something, Enuo or something like that. He sounds exactly like Joe Pesci, probably not voiced by Joe Pesci. There's Rodin, who a lot of people, I thought, was going to be a playable character looking just like a badass in that leather coat of his, but no, he's the blacksmith dude that gives you weapons. You only play as Bayonetta, and briefly her sister Jeanne. Now, I don't know if they're blood-related sisters, but they are Coven sisters, and there's a big story here. There's actually a surprisingly big story here. Devil May Cry 1 for the PlayStation 2 did have a decent story, but it was never huge. There were never these big books that you could pick up and read lengthy data log entries, learning about the world and the lore and all of that stuff. There wasn't that much stuff going on here. There were cutscenes, obviously, and you could make the comparison that Nello Angelo was at one point Dante's brother, and then there was Trish doing her Trish thing, and then eventually dying, and then not dying, and then being given the Sparta Blade. There's a lot of stuff going on in Devil May Cry 1. But Bayonetta Bayonetta came out a decade, almost more than a decade after Devil May Cry 1, so it had a lot of time to perfect the combat engine, to perfect the idea that Kamiya wanted to do, and so Bayonetta is far superior combat-wise to the first Devil May Cry. But if we never got Devil May Cry, we probably never would have gotten Bayonetta. So we owe Devil May Cry, we owe Bayonetta to Devil May Cry. We do, but we owe Resident Evil, Devil May Cry to Resident Evil. Because the Devil May Cry was originally going to be a Resident Evil spin-off, so if Resident Evil never existed, how could you spin off something that didn't exist? So you had to make Resident Evil first, and then you had to make Devil May Cry, and then you had to make the Bayonetta. That's how this domino chain of creativity works. Bayonetta was the latest in the Air series up until this point in the whole Devil May Cry awesomeness, because after Devil May Cry 4, we got this. The reboot Devil May Cry, I honestly didn't really care for black-haired Dante, edgy, emo Dante. This is emo Dante. This is the emo Dante. All he needs is some face paint and mascara, and have it bleeding mascara, and have some Atreyu playing during the game, and you're on point. You're spot on. But it's a fun combat game. I had more fun playing Devil May Cry, the remake, the reboot, than I did playing Devil May Cry 2. Yeah, Devil May Cry 2 is just not that great. Bayonetta is better than Devil May Cry, the reboot. It's better than Devil May Cry 2, obviously. I think it's even better than Devil May Cry 1 on a lot of levels, but it doesn't hold the slightest candle to Devil May Cry 3. I'm sorry, Devil May Cry 3 is just so good. It's just so good, so much fun, so awesome. And Devil May Cry 5, and even Devil May Cry 4, the special edition, all three of those games are just gems. They are some of the best combat fighting action hack and slash quick combo, mega awesome, super fast stuff. Stylish, that's the word we're looking for. Stylish hack and slash games. Bayonetta falls in that group, but it's near the bottom. The Devil May Cry 3 is good. I would say it's probably a little bit better than 4. Basic 4. The basic Devil May Cry 4. Not the special edition, which didn't release for the PlayStation 3. You know, everything I ever show off is on the PlayStation 3. Because it's the console that I love. It's the console that I play on. It's the console that I collect for. So most of the games that you see are either games that are for the PlayStation 3 or can be played on the PlayStation 3, because the PlayStation 3 needs love. It does. It needs some love. It needs games pointed out that, hey, these games came out for this system, and it's like, even 10 years later, I'm still finding games to play on this system. And I found Bayonetta for the PlayStation 3. Obviously, I knew Bayonetta was on the PlayStation 3 for years and years and years and years and years and years and years, but I was just waiting for the opportune moment to seize it for $5 or less. Because that's how I am. It's like, oh hey, this game is being worth $60. Max! Ooh, $5. I'll take it. Ooh, you're also $5. I'll take it. Are you saying this is $3? I'll take it. And suddenly you realize that you have a stack of games for a quarter of the price of a $60 thing. That's why we play used games, fellas. That's why we play old games. You can get them for cheap. Very, very cheap. Ooh. Anyways, Bayonetta is a fantastic hack and slash game. It is. It has some heart. I actually found myself feeling emotional to some of the moments going on to this game and laughing 2 seconds later. It is a very fun, lovingly crafted game, and I can't wait to see what this madman did in Bayonetta 2 and 3 when I eventually get to looking at them. Give it a look. Play it on the PlayStation 3. because protesting Nintendo's exclusive empire is something that needs to happen.